What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Biophilia.
Today, Chris is going to be talking about a cool marine species. It took me a minute to get him to tell me what it was, but I do know, and I'm so excited. Okay,
All
let
right.
us know.
So I didn't want to tell you because it kind of ruins the surprise. And this one is surprises a lot of people, honestly. They don't really know what it is. A
But
lot of
they see
people,
it all the
they
time.
see it all the time. They can never guess what kind of category of animal it is. So what would you call them now that you know what they are?
So I know the name and I've seen it, but honestly, I would guess it's a jellyfish. So what is that? It's like, um, Medusa?
Well, that is a part of its life stage, yes.
Oh, I thought that was a family name.
No. But so the animal I'm going to be talking about today is called Velella, or people probably more commonly know it as by the wind sailor. These things are pretty much all over the world in tropic and temperate waters and oceans. So no matter what country you're in, you'll probably see them at some point in your life. To break down some of the Latin names of it, Vel, the way how you spell it is Velella. And Velella,
Are you sure it's not
what?
Velea or something?
No, I actually looked up on YouTube
How to
how
pronounce?
to pronounce this thing.
Okay, cool.
So its scientific name is Velella.
Vela.
And it
Okay.
is a part of the Cnidarians, so somewhat right about the jellyfish,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a hydrosa.
Okay. Where is that like branch from traditional jellyfish?
Well, hydrosa is the class, so it's a little bit farther down.
Okay, but it's in the jellyfish.
It's in the Cnidarian phylum, but in
Okay.
the Cnidarians, there are like corals, jellyfish, sea anemones.
Okay, all the stingers.
The word comes from Latin, and the way how you would, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's V E with a little like hat above it, LUM, and then that word in Latin means sail. So realistically, this thing's scientific name is just sail,
Hmm.
which is kind of interesting. Its Latin name was first created, or not created, but like recognized in 1758 by this man named Carl Linnaeus. I'm probably pronouncing it Lin.
Bro, you don't know Carlin. Okay, I don't know
Yeah,
how to
what are
say
you talking about? You don't even know the name either. But yeah,
it. Linnaeus.
Linnaeus. Yeah, the Swedish biologist, zoologist.
He's like the most famous
Yes, the
ever.
father of modern taxonomy.
Yes.
Taxonomy. Yes, this was part of the initial class of animals. So this thing has been well known for quite a while. And so Veella is a monospecific genus of Hydrosa, which means there's only one animal in that whole genus, which is cool.
Hmm. Very cool.
There's not like a brother of it or anything like that. And another example of a Hydrosa, just so you can kind of like picture what it is the Portuguese man of war.
I don't know what that is.
You know, the big jellyfish looking things that have tentacles that reach down like 100 feet or so.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So that is another example of a Hydrosa.
What? Interesting. Okay, I don't know if you're gonna go into this, but what would somebody like walking on the beach see?
Oh, when they see these things?
When they like, what are we looking for? Like to somebody that doesn't know like what this is and how often that you actually see it in life every day on the beach. If somebody's just walking along the beach, what are they looking for?
They would be looking for something. It's like a kind of like a blue circular disc. Kind of looks plasticky, almost looks like trash, like
Yeah.
garbage. And then it has a little sail on the top of it, and they're probably about the size of like a coaster.
And when he says sail, it's like actually an erect, clear half circle on
Mhm.
top of the coaster that is the Nadarian.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
And it's
so,
like clear and a bright blue
mhm.
and yeah, kind of looks like trash, small. And you would think it's a jellyfish.
Yeah, everybody thinks the jellyfish.
Yeah. Okay.
But well, I'll get into that a little bit later.
Okay.
So I'm gonna stop calling it Veella just because I feel like I'm actually mispronouncing that. I'm gonna call it by the wind sailor. By the wind sailor lives in warm and temperate waters in all of the world's oceans. So for us, where we're at in San Diego, temperate and tropical waters goes from Central America to Vancouver Island. That's kind of their range for us in the northern hemisphere.
Cool.
They live at the water air surface, and when animals that live on the water air surface, they're called Neustons, Neuston. It's just that's like the category of animals that live at the surface.
Hmm.
I thought that was kind of cool. I've never heard that word before.
Yeah.
The actual thing what this looks like, it's the circular disc with the sail, and then it has actually other little tentacles hanging down. So
Hmm.
it really does look like a sort of a jellyfish.
Hmm.
They're subject to mass strandings on beaches throughout the world.
And that's where most people would
Yeah.
see them.
Yeah, you don't really see them out in the water that often unless you're like, on a boat or something. You see like a giant cluster, but mostly most people see them washing up on the beach, especially during El Nino years and onshore winds.
Mm.
And so 2024 had El Nino conditions, but in 2025 it's possibly transitioning back to a La Nina, which is the opposite of El Nino, which means cooler than average sea surface temperatures in the same regions. And also La Nina tends to cause cooler winters in the northern areas, drier conditions in the south, and increased hurricane activity in the Atlantic.
So we're going to see less of them.
Yes.
Okay. So
That's
everybody, you missed your chance to see them.
No, they're still gonna wash up on the shore. There's so many of these things, and so it's interesting. They generally wash up in the spring, at the end of March or sometime through April is like when they generally wash on the beaches. I got some of this information from a place called animalia.com. Pretty
Mm-hmm.
cool website actually. And it says it covers along the west coast of North America from British Columbia to California, but it even goes farther down south and north, all the way up to Vancouver Island and a little bit past that. What people generally see is that there is like this whole garbage patch of these things. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like when you see them, you're like, what is this? Because it just looks like a bunch of garbage on the beach. There can be like hundreds of them, and like there can even be like a couple centimeters deep of them. Like I'm from Santa Cruz, and I remember one time me and my friend we were skimboarding, and there was this whole little cove filled with them, and we were like, I don't even know if these things sting us. So we were just like kind of walking on them all day, and they don't affect humans that bad. So it's not like you're going to be like stung by them or anything like that. So they're not lethal
When
to
they're
us.
washed up, are they already dead or are you just
They die on
killing them and stepping
because
on them?
they don't have any way to move other than their sail.
Oh, the tentacles don't help move at all?
No, I'll get into that.
Okay.
Tentacles are actually really cool.
Okay.
That's where some more jargon comes in, but it's actually cool jargon.
Okay, cool.
So the size and lifespan of these things is they're up to 8 centimeters in diameter, but they're usually like 4 to 6 centimeters, so not that big.
Mm-hmm.
And they generally only live about a year.
Okay.
So it's pretty fast life cycle. And so there are these small blue floats made of concentric circles of gas-filled tubes, which I didn't know what concentric circles meant, so I had to look that up. Pretty much, it's a tree ring, like how there's a certain axis or
Oh,
point
yeah.
in the middle, and there's circle things.
You can see
Mhm.
that
You
through
can
them
see them,
when you
yeah.
look at them on the beach. You could see the concentric circles. Okay, cool.
And so the way I think about it is like, oh, it's like a piece of a tree that's just kind of floating around because you can see all the little.
Does it
rings.
have to do with lifespan like that?
What do you mean?
You know how tree rings, it has to do like you can count
Oh,
rings on a tree and it has to do with the lifespan of the tree. Like, and then I wonder if that has to do with
yeah.
the
Actually,
age of the jelly.
I don't know, but that would be an interesting thing for people to research. Because honestly, I was looking on the like Google Scholars to try and find research about this animal. Not really too much about it. It's more just about its appearance of washing up on the shores rather than the actual biology and aspects of this animal. It's more just about where it washes up on the beach and why it does that, and like its effects with the new like anthropogenic climate change and stuff like that.
Interesting.
But I did find another article later on that I'll talk about that it is pretty cool and talks kind of about the chemistry of them. So you know how you're saying they have that little semicircular sail? It's produced by this material called chitin, chitin. That's the material it's made out of. I think I've heard of that in other animals, but I don't remember exactly which ones. Have you heard of any of those?
I've heard of chitin. I don't know. I assume it's just some type of like cartilage
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
So here's another cool little thing. So some of the sails, they're angled. Some of them have an angle to the right. Some of them have an angle to the left.
Is that boy girl?
No.
Oh.
But off California, the right angled ones survive and the left ones end up on the beach.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, what? So, okay, then why
Because
are
the
they
wind,
all adapted the right way?
because they might have flown in, washed in from a different area because they don't choose where they want to move.
Right, it's just sail.
It's just
But
the
you
wind.
would think that over time the adaptation would be the right, like the direction that's most useful for where they're born.
Yeah,
But
but
you're saying because they are in no way in control of where they're born and they're consistently floating all over the map that there's no like directional
yeah.
evolution.
And then it could just be that like maybe the conditions weren't as severe as before back in the day. So now with these newer severe conditions with stronger winds and stuff like that, maybe they're going to start maybe evolving towards an aspect of this, but they never had to in the past. But I thought that was kind of interesting. I was like, wow, so you kind of from your birth, you're kind of deciding if you're going to end up on a beach or not if you're on the California coast.
Yeah, but talk about predetermined destiny.
Yeah. And so they catch the wind so that the animals tend to sail downwind of the current that's going on. So like I was saying, the underside includes many small polyps that
Mm-hmm.
bud off little medusas. So that's how they reproduce.
Okay.
And so a medusa, for people that don't know, is just like it's like the jellyfish. A jellyfish is a medusa. It's a certain life stage within, I don't know what quantification class of animals it is, but it's like jellyfish do it, hydrosas do it, some other cnidarians do it, where
What's a hydrosa?
this is a hydrosa.
But what is that? Like,
It's just a class of animal.
but what animal?
These animals.
Only this one.
Oh, so let me give you more background. So these things also are not a single animal. They're a colony.
Inside the one?
No, this is a colonial animal.
Oh, well, it's a single animal that forms a colony.
No, it's a colony of animals, of polyps. It's like a coral.
Oh, it's a col.
It's
Oh,
like a coral.
what?
Yeah, it's literally a tons of polyps.
On the underside.
And the top side.
No.
It's a single polyp on the top, and then a bunch of little polyp tentacles that hang down.
What?
Yeah.
That's so cool. Okay, keep going.
The medusa can sink to as far as 2,000 meters in depth, and then they produce gametes. Let me break this down in just an easier way.
2,000 meters?
Yes. I'm going to break it down like this, just so it's easier to understand. So there is the thing that floats on the surface with the sail.
Yes.
And then there are these polyps that hang down.
Easy.
Some of the polyps, there's 3 different kinds of polyps they have. So there's the gastrozoids, which involves in feeding and digestion, and those are surrounded. So that's there's a large one in the middle.
Okay, kind of like a mouth.
Yes. And then there are surrounded by hundreds of smaller gastrogonozoids, which gastro, feeding, gono, reproduction. So these polyps are do like help with like reproduction and like some of the digestion aspects.
Okay.
So there's like the big mouth in the middle. This is like think about it in common sense. So this big mouth in the middle, and then there's all these reproductive and like kind of feeding ones around it. And then there's an additional ring around that, which are called dactylozoids, which are involved in prey capture and contain the highest number of nematocysts, which is their stinging cells. But they don't have a mouth for digestion. Those are more just like to stun the animal and then kind of bring it in closer.
Mm-hmm.
Each specimen contains about 3 times 10 to the 5th power nematocytes. So tons of them.
That is not a real number.
What do you mean?
Like, say it in real numbers.
Well, it's 10 to the 5th.
Okay, so a lot.
Yeah, lots.
Hella.
Tons of nematocysts. Yeah. And so that's just kind of some of the background and like biology of this animal. Just to kind of summary it up in a simpler sense, there's the polyp on top with the sail, and then there's the mouth in the middle, sexual reproductive ones around that with some digestive aspects also, and then like the stunning ones on the outside.
And these are all different types of polyps.
All different types of polyp that combine to create this colony of this animal.
That was really interesting. Keep going.
Okay, so now I'm getting into their life cycle and like kind of their reproduction and stuff like that.
Cool.
Um,
Wait, okay, one question.
Yes, go ahead.
I might have missed this, and this might be common sense, but I'm like for the people.
Yeah, of course.
So I gotta ask. So the things that are 2,000 meters, I'm still stuck back there. Is that like a tentacle, or you're saying?
About to get into the life cycle right here.
No, I know, but what are you saying hangs 2,000 meters?
No.
Or things drop to 2,000 meters?
The
babies drop.
I probably worded it weird. So the tentacles.
So they do have tentacles.
Yes.
And when you think of these,
The tentacles are the polyps.
what?
Yes. That's what I'm saying. There's all these different tentacles on the bottom.
Polyps in the way that like they're kind of short and stuck to the bottom and kind of like there.
These are about a centimeter long.
But they're tentacles.
Tentacles that are polyps, yes.
But they're a centimeter long?
Yes.
So I was imagining correctly. They're not like long hanging like jellyfish.
No.
I was thinking like ribbons and like. Okay,
No. They don't hang 2,000 meters. Those little tentacles produce medusas. The reproductive ones next to the mouth, the gastrogonozoids, because those are the reproductive ones, those produce medusas, which medusas is like a jellyfish. It's the little like head with the tentacles that kind of, bloop, 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 move by. those can go down to 2,000-meter depths.
And that's a stage in their life cycle at which they kind of represent a jellyfish,
Yes.
but then they'll rise again as adults to the surface and then do the whole thing again. And
Now,
then do they shed their tentacles? Like what?
let me get into let me just jump into the life cycle.
Okay, yeah, I need to know.
Okay. So here's a cool thing. Each colony, so the whole animal at the surface
Okay.
is either all male or all female.
So like if you were sailing and you saw a bunch of them together collectively, it'd be all male or all female?
No, each one individually is all male components or all female components.
Whoa.
But if if they're in a cluster, there's a possibility that a male and a female would be next to each
Well,
other.
yeah, so you're saying they're just one sex.
Yeah,
Okay. So are you.
valid.
Why is that interesting?
I mean, there's just so many damn things about this I wasn't know. Because
Okay.
like plants, they have male and female parts to them.
Okay, true.
So I was like, just yeah,
Okay, so we have one sex. Okay.
yeah. And so
One sex per individual.
per individual, yeah.
No hermaphrodites.
No hermaphrodites, exactly. So the gonozoids each produce numerous tiny jellyfish, or what we call medusa, by an asexual budding process. So
Oh.
they kind of bud off of them.
So no sexual reproduction.
In this stage, there's different stages like I'm getting to.
Okay.
So first, little tentacle polyp buds off medusas.
Okay.
Those medusas drop, blue, 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 blue,
2000.
that deep down into the ocean.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. And the medusas are each provided with zooxanthellae. Do you know what that is?
That sounds familiar. Chris was reading this jellyfish book forever ago.
Spineless.
Spineless. Shout out Spineless.
It's right there. Go grab it. Who's it by? Spineless by Julia Burwald. Julie Burwald. Such a great book. Would heavily recommend.
I remember him talking to me about this a lot. What is it?
Because this was when we were in Maui when I was reading it.
Zooxanthellae?
Yeah, zooxanthellae.
What is it?
It's the algae that lives within inside them and helps produce with photosynthesis, like coral.
Okay.
Because that's what coral also have. Coral have little zooxanthellae, which is an algae that lives within inside them, gets the light, produces photosynthesis, gives sugars to the adult or to the host being. It's
So
a symbiotic relationship.
Okay, so it's a type of algae that lives within.
Lives within the medusas that are budding off.
But how does it get the sunlight when it's so deep?
This is just for for certain stages, because at the top it's probably hanging up there, and then eventually like droops down eventually.
Okay.
So the medusa developed to sexual maturity within about 3 weeks, and then from there they spawn eggs and sperm, and those develop into a platonic, or yeah,
A platonic relationship.
planktonic larva called a cornaria. Conaria. Conaria. I would think that's how you pronounce it. A recap.
Are we at the end?
Of what?
The life cycle?
Soon.
Recap at the end.
Okay. And so these conaria, which develops into the new floating things at the top.
Okay, so now we're done.
Yeah, now we're done.
Okay, now do a good what just happened.
Okay, so colony species
Wait,
at the
should
top.
I try?
Yeah, you try.
Okay, so I think that what he just explained is there's the colony species at the top, the thing that we see wash up at the beach. It's on the top, it has its sail. Then the polyps on the bottom that are like a couple centimeters long, they're not really tentacles, whatever, they produce a medusa, which is like a mini baby jellyfish pretty much, that will like slowly go down into the deep ocean. And that combined with the zooxanthellae, which is like an algae that's within the medusa, will I forget what happens.
Those will spawn eggs and sperm.
Those will spawn eggs and sperm, and then the eggs and sperm will somehow combine, I assume, and then that together will like rise to the surface, and then they'll hatch, or however you want to say, new colonies.
Yeah, pretty much.
Boom.
Yeah, pretty much. In the general sense, yeah.
And that's what I care about.
Yeah. So, pretty interesting life cycle. This is actually a pretty common life cycle amongst jellyfish and other stuff like that.
Mm.
And so this stage, the stage where the eggs and the sperm combine and create the planktonic larva, is crucial for the dispersion of this animal.
Of course. Yeah.
And so now I'm going to talk about a little bit of the diet of this animal. What do you think it eats?
I feel like it eats microplankton. Like super small. What's the smallest thing you can eat in the ocean?
I don't know.
I vote plankton.
So they are carnivores. They catch their prey by tentacles. Most of them feed on fish eggs and crustacean larvae. So according to
Interesting. That's like not what I would think.
so according to this research paper called Digestion and Predation Rates of Zooplankton by the
Don't try to pronounce things. Just go.
by
Move on.
by the Newton Jimmy Neutron by the Newston the animals that live at the fucking
Oh, at the
Yeah.
water air interface.
yeah those guys.
Okay.
Hydrosa Vela, oh god, Velella, and widespread blooms in 2013 and 2014. In this fucking paper that I can't pronounce, they checked the gastrozoids, the little polyps that are used for feeding, the main one in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
They checked the content analysis and showed that 59% of the 769 identified preys were krill larvae. 59%.
That's a lot.
Um,
How big are krill larvae? Like, just so I'm thinking right, because I'm thinking about like what size of carnivore they can be. Like, what are they eating, and how big is the biggest thing that they eat?
That's a good question. I don't know exactly.
Okay.
I would assume very small.
Okay, yeah.
The second thing they would eat is copepods, which is pretty much zooplankton.
Okay.
That's at 41%. And then there's like a couple other little things like fish eggs is 2.2%, and then larvae is 0.5%. So very small percentage, but mainly it is krill larvae and zooplankton is what they're eating.
Cool.
Can you guess what they're eaten by?
What they're eaten by? Birds.
They didn't list birds, no.
Really?
Yeah.
They're at the friggin' top and they're shiny.
Yeah, that's actually interesting. That's not at all what they said they were eaten by. At least I looked from the things I looked up.
Okay. Then, I don't know. Maybe seals?
Mm-mm.
What?
So they are eaten by pelagic gastropods, such as some nudibranchs.
No way.
Yeah. And bubble rafting snails.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, no way snails are eating these things.
Yeah.
Okay, snails are way, way smaller.
Well, they're on bubbles and bubble rafting snails. So there's like, they just like ride the bubbles. And
Okay, but okay, even nudibranchs. Like, even the biggest nudibranch isn't as big.
you don't have to eat it all at once.
But wouldn't it get shocked?
I don't know. Maybe they got some sort of protective
Maybe
layer.
they have, maybe it's like rubber boots, you know?
Yeah, exactly. But I thought it was pretty cool that nudibranchs ate these things.
That is really cool. We're obsessed with nudibranchs.
Especially, what was the one? It's like this blue dragon one. I forget what it's called. It looks
The
like
blue and yellow one?
No, it's like blue and white. It looks like a Pokemon. Main things that would eat these.
Predators.
What did they call it again? Wind by the Wind Sailor. That's just such an annoying name.
Long name.
Yeah.
Like, come on, let's
I mean, they also
name.
they also got some other names that I didn't mention earlier.
Okay, what are they?
Sea
Maybe we
raft.
could vote on the best one. Okay, what?
Sea raft.
Okay.
Purple sail.
I like that, but it's not purple at all.
It's not purple.
It's like a bright
Yeah.
blue. Clearly blue.
Or little sail.
That's cute.
Which one would you vote on?
I feel like, can we make it blue? Like, what's a different name for blue? Like no, not vermilion. Like corbel sail.
Cobalt.
Cobalt, that's the word I was looking for. Cobalt sail. Let's make a petition. To rename it.
Velella is now called cobalt sail.
Cobalt sail.
Okay, I actually like
It's
that.
very descriptive and way easier to pronounce.
Yeah, I think it actually accurately describes the color of it.
Yep.
Okay, so now I have some recent research.
Cool.
This was published in 2023. It's called Long-Term Patterns of Mass Strandings of the Colonial Cnidarian, Velella, Influence of Environmental Forcing. And this was done by the School of Aquatic and Fisheries Sciences at the University of Washington. So utilizing a 20-year data set from 2000 to 2019, 23,000 surveys collected by this organization called COAST, or COASST, which is a citizen science program, kind of like what we were talking about last week with the Grenians.
Maybe that was 2 weeks ago for them.
That's true. You know what I mean. So from the Pacific Northwest coast, from Washington to Northern California, 14 years there was mass strandings with an expansive events in 2003, 2006, in that range, and 2014 and 2019. And then they also stated that events predominantly occur in spring and were synchronous amongst years. So like 1 year to the next, they're happening at the same time.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
That is cool.
That that large of a survey and that they got that much information, and they're saying it's synchronous. So it's kind of like the grunions where it's clockwork.
Yeah.
A lot of it is just again with the shifting of onshore winds. Because once that flips on,
Yeah.
that's when they start to wash up on the shore because they can't move by themselves.
Right.
And then the other recent research I was looking at is called, here we go again, protein analysis and biochemical characterization of the nematocyst extract of the hydrogen Velella. So this study aimed to provide a comprehensive report of all the different kind of molecules that are in the nematocyst within the stinging cells.
Mm-hmm.
And they were doing this for, like, what's it called? Where it's like a pharmacy. Like what's that word called? Or like medicine research.
Oh, like
Pharmaceutical research. There we go.
Pharmaceutical.
They were looking at them, and they identified 783 different proteins
Whoa.
in a nematocyst.
Is it a lot?
That sounds like a lot of proteins to me. I don't know.
Well, what's the average?
I don't know.
Well, then it could be not a lot.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know. 783 proteins in one cell sounds like a lot, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
And they had like a bunch of different things. Like they had phospholases, DNases, chinases. So I think this was published in 2023 or 2024. And it's kind of just paving the road to see if like these animals have any sort of venom component that can help with different aspects of like recombination proteins or stuff like that. Just to,
Yeah, what would be the medical use of this?
because there's some enzymes that break things down that maybe we weren't able to break down before because we didn't know a protein structure that could do it.
Mm-hmm.
These things, could maybe help in that field.
Cool.
So I thought that was interesting that out of most of the recent research, they were all more about like the first one, like the stranding of these things on the beaches. And this was like one of the few that actually talked about the biochemical characteristics of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any final questions about this lovely little animal?
Is that all? Is that what you?
That's the information I got, yeah.
Okay, let me think. They never drown.
What?
Do they ever drown?
How would they drown?
What are other ways that they die? Being eaten by nudibranchs?
Being eaten or stranded?
Sure. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they probably don't know if they die by age. Like, that's a hard thing to track, like trying to track a single one. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, you couldn't really tag it.
Yeah. If you tagged it, it'd probably sink.
Yeah, then it would sink. No, I feel like you covered a lot of good stuff. I'll have to think about it, and we'll come back if I have any questions.
So if anybody else has questions, feel free to always put them down in the comments or whatever. Because I'd love to see what people think and what kind of questions you guys have, because each person's brain's a little bit different. I like to see how they work.
Yes, and we love questions.
We do.
No, I feel like that was so good, so interesting. Thanks, Chris.
Of course. Well, thank you for tuning in to this episode. I'm excited to hear what Haley has to say next, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Bye.
See you.